I'd been ill for a number of years. I had irregular heartbeat, I was getting arthritis, and also abnormal liver function tests. Nothing seemed to be getting diagnosed. I wasn't told anything definitive. I was told basically stop drinking and take some painkillers for your aching joints. Over 6 months, and my liver function tests were getting worse and worse. All the other symptoms were gradually getting worse and worse as well. I had liver function tests which showed that there was an abnormality, but there was no follow-up. Had there been a follow-up, then they would have seen that I'd had a high ferritin level. You
brought the action because your work was affected.
I was a consultant ecologist, specialising in reptiles and amphibians. So we'd go around the country surveying for reptiles and amphibians.
It's a very physical job.
Yeah, a very, very physical job. It became impossible for me to actually gain the licences to do the work that I needed to do. And my employees weren't qualified at this stage to go out and do that themselves. It was about two years before I was diagnosed that I couldn't physically go out in the field anymore and carry out this work because it was just too painful. Eventually my wife got totally fed up with going back to my GP time and time again and not getting a diagnosis. And we went private. We spent £3,000 on tests and a consultation, and I was actually diagnosed in 15 minutes. He gave us a diagnosis of hemochromatosis, and we had confirmation a few weeks after that from a genetic test, which showed that I had genetic hemochromatosis. And what that is that I don't produce an enzyme which switches off the absorption of iron through the intake of food. The iron starts to build up over the years, and eventually it becomes toxic. I have arthritis throughout my body, so it's very painful. That was affecting my day-to-day living.
Once you'd been given the diagnosis, then what made you, and you decided you were going to take legal action for the delay, what made you choose Morblatt?
Because I'd never heard of hemochromatosis before. And once I'd got to read about it, see exactly what it was, I realised that actually it's fairly simple to diagnose. I'd had these symptoms for a long time. How come I wasn't diagnosed before? So I'm now left in a situation where I can't do the job that I want, that I trained to do. And in matter of fact, any job is going to be pretty difficult for me to do. So I went to the Hemochromatosis Society, and Morblatt came up when I was talking to them. So I thought, well, okay, I need an expert. Let's go and contact Morblatt and see what happens. And that was when I was referred to you.
So with this condition then, it was important that you were diagnosed at an earlier point in time to actually stop the iron levels rising, which then led to all the damage.
In this particular case, it didn't help that it's not straightforward. It's not straightforward because the symptoms that I was displaying can be attributable to other conditions.
With the experts that we got on board for the heart and liver and bones, you seemed to understand and grasp quite quickly the legal process and what it was we had to prove. That was quite disappointing, quite hard for you, because obviously you felt it's a bit of a coincidence that this happens at the same time as these other things, but that it's part and parcel of the legal process. We have to be able to conclusively prove, and it's all down to expert evidence and their opinion.
There's all sorts of work that we need to do for the case, so of course, the stress is there. You always hope that somebody's going to do the right thing, absolutely. I mean, looking at it from an outsider's point of view, it's obvious that my case wasn't followed up correctly. And had it been followed up correctly, I wouldn't be in the situation that I was in now.
Being through all this yourself, what advice might you give to someone who's contemplating bringing a claim via Morblatt?
Bearing in mind how stressful and how complicated the case was, I was very, very happy that I had such brilliant experts and that I was reassured all the way through, and you told me exactly, you know, how it was going to proceed, what I should expect. One thing I would say is that I wouldn't wish this upon anybody, and you know, the best outcome would have been that I would have been diagnosed early, and
no compensation can make up for
absolutely.
some of the losses you have, can
That's
they?
it. I can't imagine anybody else that could have taken me through this stress as well as what you did, because, you know, I can't see how it could have been any better, quite personally. You know, it was brilliant, and I was just grateful that that you took the case and worked through it with me.